Andy, you replaced our screen. That's awesome.
That was awful and completely by accident. That was unintended. I was trying to
I
share my
realized
screen.
that earlier this week where the new Restream, you whenever you like go to share your screen, it replaces like the other media that's on the screen, you know? So yeah, it like swaps out the video. But
Well,
that's
on that
totally cool.
bombshell,
Yeah.
welcome everybody to 365 Deep Dive. He's John. I'm Andy. I'm going to be here to mess up the stream. He's going to be here to keep us in line as we move forward for what's new in Copilot 2024. What a way to start off the show.
That's awesome, dude. So how's it been going, man? What have you been up to?
It has been busy. Things have been going good. A lot of really awesome Copilot related work at work. Some really cool things there. And then outside of work, some fun things going on. Kids started back to school. So really excited about that. Starting Cub Scouts with the boys. That's been really fun and just kind of getting back into that fall flow. What about you?
Nice. So you're doing Cub Scouts this year? Did you do it last year too, or?
First time.
Okay. Yeah, we're doing scouts this year too. We did I did scouts with my 8-year-old, now he's 9. So he was a wolf and now he's a bear. And then my 6-year-old is starting this year, so now I've got 2 in the Cub Scouts.
Is that a tiger?
Yeah, he's going into first grade, so he's like the tiger. Yeah. So that's cool, man. That's awesome. You know, it was a good time last year getting into it and trying out scouts, and my youngest is excited about it, so that's awesome. But yeah, it's been a busy month for me too. It's we are with the Copilot things or just like the work related stuff. We're right on the cusp of really expanding our Copilot footprint. So we've pushed out we're about 60 or 4,600 people right now, and with the trajectory we're looking at, we're going to hit like tens of thousands of people here very shortly. I'm excited to learn yesterday that apparently they're wanting me to go to New York City in 2 weeks and do like a hands-on workshop demo thing with our new CEO and like the top 10 executives. So that will be interesting to see how that goes. It's kind of a little bit of a last minute trip to go do that, but you can kind of feel like the wheels are really turning. You know, we're in a new fiscal year with my company, and that means that you know, there's a lot of focus on, okay, Copilot, let's do it, let's go big. You know, so we're really getting aggressive about rolling it out, and I'm doing more onboarding sessions and stuff.
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. Yeah, we're only talking like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people overall. But
we're expanding as well. I've got some leadership engagement coming up that I'm pretty excited about, a little nervous about, but you know, they're smart people, so I'm really looking forward to that engagement. Our Copilot program has recently started to expand, and that's really exciting. We've onboarded several hundred new users just over the last couple of weeks alone, with plans to continue to grow organically from there. So it's been a lot of fun putting all that together. It's been a challenge, which has been, you know, something different versus some of the normal routine. But I'm looking forward to the expansion. I'm also looking forward to some of the engagement as new teams come on board. And one of the things that we're kind of shifting in our the way that we view Copilot is we've done a lot for personal productivity. A lot of individuals have come on board in our program. Now we're looking at taking that to a team aspect. And I'm looking forward to engaging with different teams and kind of putting on the business analyst hat, identifying work processes and workflows, and the challenge of figuring out how to best work Copilot into the existing workflow so that we can see some real productivity gains, not only from an individual standpoint, but from a team standpoint. So that's a challenge that I'm really looking forward to embracing here as we move forward with our deployment.
It sounds like that's kind of the natural progression with, you know, a lot of earlier organizations like ours. We're in the exact same spot. So starting this month, our change management group they are going to be working, and I'll get to be a kind of a subject matter expert that gets to tag along with it. But we're going to be doing like design thinking and research sessions with people from our service lines, and we've been designing like a whiteboard layout to walk them through kind of like a over 3 days. We're going to spend like an hour per day with the same group of like 8 to 12 people, and we're going to go through like, okay, you guys are all service line professionals in a specific area. How can we use Copilot? Let's brainstorm some ideas, and then we're going to take those ideas, turn them into like workflows, and places where we can insert prompts, and then we're going to do prompting together, and then at the end of it, we're hoping to design a bunch of prompt books, basically, where it's like, hey, here's like a booklet that you can get as a new Copilot user in XYZ role. And, here's some like ideas that are like very job specific or role specific. So we'll have to sync up on that stuff, because we're building kind of a whiteboard template that will go through and kind of like take them through a process of like sticky note generation and everything, and then use Copilot in whiteboard to kind of summarize all of it at the end and help us kind of bring it all to home. So
that's a good use case for it. I've had a lot of fun as we're getting ready to like ramp up and roll this out, kind of reviewing, going back and looking at some of the content that we've delivered, refreshing some of that content, but also putting together things like FAQs, putting together quick start guides based off of the FAQs and the feedback that we've gotten. So like, it's been nice to kind of look backward at like how much progress that we've made over the last year of a pilot program, and then to kind of start to map out where we're going to move forward with that, and from some of the lessons learned, and really engage with a larger audience as we're moving forward. But that retrospection has been really helpful to kind of, okay, this is what we've done. This is what's worked. This has been really nice. Let's tweak this, and then we'll deploy it and start rolling it out like this moving forward. So I really like that challenge of like what's coming next, but knowing that we've been there and we've done this a few times is really helpful.
Yeah. One other thing that's new with me is like, as work is kind of like really starting to increase, and like all the Copilot stuff is really launching and taking off. I'm trying to like, claim back some of my like work-life balance and, stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out like a healthier balance with technology, and I've been getting interested in like productivity and like, people journaling and organizing their thoughts and stuff like that. And one problem I have is like, when I can't turn off for the night, I end up like on my phone just scrolling forever. And I've been on the hunt for a while with looking at like an e-reader type of solution, or like how can I consume content without like the blue light and all of the like getting amped up, and then having trouble falling asleep. So I've had like for a long time, I've had a Kindle and I've had an iPad. And I love the iPad, especially the iPad mini. That's like, I'm a huge fan of the iPad mini.
Yeah.
But I find that like there's too many apps on it and it's too easy to get like distracted. But the Kindle's like too stripped down for me. And like what I really want is I want a reader or some type of gadget that I can use the Readwise reader application, and not have the blue light, have like a good, comfortable reading experience. But I'm reading like blog posts from Microsoft and, thought leadership from like Gartner and, The Verge and stuff like that. So I ended up picking up, I can't decide between the two. So I'd be curious what your thoughts are. I picked up 2 different e-readers a week ago, and I'm going to return one of them, but I can't decide which one. I ended up getting it's the Books brand, Boox. And what's really cool about them, they're e-ink screens. So I can write all of my notes, and I find that I recall things if I have like handwritten notes. But what I love about these things is because it's just Android, I can install Readwise Reader on it. And now I've got like my actual Readwise account on here. So I can read books. I can, I'm subscribed to like a ton of RSS feeds, like all of the Microsoft Tech community blogs and things like that. So I can save all those to read later, and I can read and take notes on them and stuff like that. And it all like syncs back to my, PKM system, my personal knowledge management. But yeah, I can't decide like which one I like better, because like the little one is color and it has a light on it. It's a front lit screen. So it's like more comfortable to read in bed. But like I really like this one at my desk for like taking notes and kind of like bending over it and, writing notes and really organizing my thoughts. So I don't know.
I
I
think
got to
the
figure out what I'm
question
going to keep.
is, can you sync back to the same sources? Because I think you've identified a workflow for both of them. One's better when it's low
I
light
know.
situations, and like you're probably not going to be like jotting down like crazy amounts of notes at the end of the evening.
Hmm.
Versus like the other one, you're doing handwritten notes. You're off to the side. You want minimum distraction, and it doesn't matter if it's a low light situation because you got your backlight in the office. If there's a way
Exactly.
to
Yeah. The
sync
overhead.
things kind of in the background, I think that might be your answer right there. So like you might be holding on to both
Both.
of them.
I might, dude. It's like $800 to keep both of them. But yeah, I don't know. Like it does sync up really well, which is cool because like their inbuilt note taking application like uses like the cloud to sync between the two. So like I write on one and it shows up on the other one. And then the reader application. So I've installed Readwise Reader, and because that's like a service that you log into with your reading list, I can access the exact same like articles and everything from my iPhone, my iPad, my Mac, but also both of these devices. And then I also installed like Kindle on it and Audible and stuff like that for reading books, and all of that stuff. Your progress stays synced in the cloud. So you just like pick up the other tablet and just pick up where you left off. So yeah, honestly, they are really seamless between each other because I've kind of been just picking up one for a couple hours and then the other one for a couple hours to feel which one do I like better. And yeah, maybe one just like lives in my office and one like lives in my nightstand or something, or in my backpack. So,
I'm lucky I don't have that problem. I love my
mhm.
iPad, and I have the ability to tune out the apps that I'm not engaged with at the time. I have more
Yeah.
apps than I probably even need on there. But like for me, the iPad's kind of the one stop shop, which I really like because I can go back and forth like between the two. I can read, I can do the notes and things like that. I'm not big on handwritten notes. I have the stylus. I use it for whiteboarding sessions. But
Mhm.
most of my stuff I'm just typing, and voice to text for me is actually huge. Big fan of that. So the
Dude,
iPad really
yeah.
for me is kind of that one stop shop
Mhm.
where I can like really get everything that I want.
And that's what I'm hoping for too, is like so the new Apple like keynote is coming up in a couple weeks. I'm really hoping they release an updated iPad mini, because the iPad mini, I love that form factor. And I'm ready to get rid of my 11-inch iPad because the mini is perfect size, except that it doesn't have an M processor in it. So I can't use Apple Intelligence on it. And like I really hope that they update the iPad mini and then that'll just kind of be the perfect iPad. But I like this, like this is kind of a disconnect device. Andreas said on the chat like, hey, what are these devices? So I wanted to call out what they are. This one is called the Books Tab Mini C. So it's color because it's a C, and it is a 7-inch screen. So it's the exact same size. Um, it's the exact same size as my iPad Mini, which is like super convenient for like throwing in a bag. The other one is called the Books Go 10.3, and it doesn't have a backlit screen, but like look how thin that thing is. Like
Yeah.
it's like reading, a tablet or like a newspaper or something. It's so just beautiful design. So, but yeah, I was hoping they would be obvious to me, and it's just not obvious. So, hey Brian, I see that you're in the chat. So, Brian, I used to work with him for the past 2+ years at EY, and he has moved on to greener pastures. But excited to see you, dude. I hope you're doing well down there in Atlanta. But I think that might kind of segue us. So we've been like just chit chatting for like 15 minutes. What what I think kind of is the connecting fabric here is that I use Reader on this, and this is kind of how I disconnect every night. Is like I go and I catch up on like what I missed all day long, right? In all the tech blogs and things like that. And we're talking today about what's new and next in Copilot, and how do we figure out what's new, because there's so much stuff flying around. And what has been critical for me, hashtag not sponsored, has been Readwise Reader, because like I can't hardly keep afloat of all of the blog post articles and the videos and things like that that come out. I kind of want to collect all of it and then consume it when I can actually focus on it, right? Because I can't kind of half read while I'm in a meeting. I can't focus on multiple things. So that has been critical for me to figure out like what's happening with Microsoft Copilot and 365 in
Same.
general. I'm curious, like, what sources do you use to like stay on top of what's coming?
So Readwise for me is definitely key. In fact, can we bring it up on the screen so people can like actually see
Sure.
it?
Yeah.
I'll give a brief introduction into it.
Yeah.
But
Your screen or my screen?
my screen, I got
Oh,
it already
okay.
queued
Yeah.
up.
Because I could bring mine up, but let me swap your screen out here. Sorry.
There we go.
Okay. So this is your Reader.
Yep. So
Okay.
this is the Readwise or Reader app by Readwise. And this is the thing that I use to keep up with all the changes in the Microsoft ecosystem, not just related to Copilot, but other apps and services, blogs
Hmm.
by Microsoft, blogs by community, blogs by the MVP community. And what Readwise Reader is really good at is that it's a combination of a reader application, save it for later. You can also tag in feeds, blog feeds, Twitter threads, YouTube channels, RSS feeds, and you can get all of
Hmm.
that information in one place. So, like, I go down to feed, and that's just all the things, all the different sources that I'm interested in. And so I follow Microsoft blogs, like for example, what's new in Copilot 2024. And I can go through and browse that article here in real time. If there's something that I see or that's important, I can actually highlight it right there and make
Hmm.
notes like around it. So like there might be like, for example, this might be something that I think is important. So I can highlight that. It's going to create the highlight there. I can additionally tag it if I want. But then off to the side, I'm going to see like my info and my notebook, and any highlights that I've made in the notebook are going to show up, and they're easy and they're quick to get back to. And again, I can view the tags. I can
Hmm.
edit a custom note around it, but I can also go back to the original source, like go and open the original article in the web browser with full fidelity. But all
Hmm.
of this exists in my feed right now. So if I exit out of this and go and read another article, when I return back to this article, it takes me right back to the point where I was at. And with just a few keyboard shortcuts, up and down, H for highlight, I can quickly navigate through the article and read it. But like it can also read it to me. There's a text to speech feature where if I go on a walk, I can just put this, like, reader is available on your mobile device. I can just
Hmm.
put my headphones in, AirPods, whatever. I can go on the walk and I can listen to the article. It's just read to me because it does voice to speech,
I
which
use
is
that
great.
all the time.
Yeah, it's super
Yeah.
helpful. Even in the car, just taking the kids to school. If there's an article I want to listen to, I can
Hmm.
throw it in and listen to it when they don't have control of the podcast.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing that beyond tagging in like notes is that there's a ghost
Hmm.
reader feature. And so it's powered by Chat GPT on the back end. It's included with your subscription. I know Ami's got a question about that, and I'll answer
Yeah.
that
Is
in a
it
moment.
free or paid? Hmm.
But like I can have a summarization of the article, and it'll create that for me. So it's generating that in the lower corner right now. And in just a second, I'll be able to go in and like see like there's the summary by Ghost Reader, but I can also
Hmm.
invoke Ghost Reader and ask thought provoking questions, and have it generate tags or key takeaways, so like I can interact with the thing. But if this article ends up being important for me, it's in my feed. I can take it and throw it in my inbox, and my inbox is my library. And in my library, based off of my tags, I can create different views. So like I can say, okay, this is important to me. Let me go ahead and tag this. We're going to give it a document tag. I'm going to call it Copilot. Now I've tagged it with Copilot. And then if you're familiar with SharePoint lists and SharePoint views, I can go right in and I've already got a view set up for that where I filter by that tag. And so now everything Copilot's in one place. And so this allows me to control all the intake of all the information, all the blogs, all the sources, all the content that I want. And even if I'm just browsing, LinkedIn, or I'm browsing like Twitter or Blue Sky or something like that, I can send things to Reader and it'll show up in my library, but I can set up feeds so that those things are automatically consumed. So I'll take an hour each day, sometime throughout the day, lunch, evening, whatever, and I'll go through this and I'll find the articles and the content that are important to me, throw that in my library, I'll tag it, I'll put notes around it, and then because I've already got predefined views, when I'm ready to go and do some work, what's new in Copilot for summer 2024, I've already got a list of all those resources from all of those different web sources in one place. So Reader does that. Now, to go back to a couple of questions I know that Ami asked, is it free? There's a free trial, and then it is a paid subscription. However, if you use my promo code, you get a couple of months for free. Everybody wins with that. As far as like the investment, it's, I don't know, it's like $8 a month or something like that. It's totally worth it because
I think I'm paying like $100 a year or something like that.
It's like, I think it's less than that, honestly.
Really?
But like, if you think about it, you get a feed manager, you get a read it later tool, you get a note-taking tagging tool, and it's all in one application that works in the as a desktop app, works in your web browser, and it works on your mobile device, and it automatically syncs between all three. I think it's great. Shameless plug, I did do kind of a call out on that, a YouTube video around that previously. If you want to see like a little bit more, this is the tool that I use. You can go check out this video. I dropped the promo code in there. I get a free month if you use the promo code, but like I don't get paid for it. So check it out. I think it's a great tool, but that's how I introduced John to it, but that's how we stay up to date with all this information. Going and manually finding all this stuff, it's too much work. This brings
here's the pricing page. It's like $96 a year, basically, so $8 a month, and that's what gives you like the Reader application. So that's what both of us are paying for, just out of pocket. And there's a little bit of a look at what mine is. It's a little bit less set up, I guess you would say. Like I have just stuff coming in like a DVR basically, and I'm kind of like figuring out, like I swipe one way to put it in my inbox to actually read it, or I swipe another way to archive it because I don't care about that thing. So I kind of go through every day and just like swipe left or right for whether or not I want to actually read something. And that goes to my library. And like right now I've got, I don't know, it's like 6. Yeah, I've got 6 things in my list to read like this weekend. But to look at like my feeds, I've subscribed to The Verge. So that's an RSS feed. I've subscribed to different tech community blogs. So this is the M365 blog, the Teams blog. I've got the M365 blog down here, the Stream blog, the Viva Engage.
Channels.
Do what?
A plethora of YouTube channels.
Yes, but you can add, YouTube channels in here. So I've got YouTube channels for like Microsoft Mechanics, the Coffee in the Cloud, Copilot Connection, stuff like that. I've got Bill Gates notes, so his personal blog, Daryl's a service, stuff like that.
Go ahead and click on Daryl's. Bring Daryl's up.
Yeah, sure.
This is what I love about Reader and YouTube. Like it'll bring the YouTube video into the Reader player.
It might be in the archive because I've seen everything from Daryl. Here's one. So here's like a day in the life of Loop, but not only can I watch it, but it's got all of the transcript in it. So I can highlight the transcript and like I can grab a section of it and I can tag it, or I can add a note. So if I do that, I can be like, oh, I need to make a video about this, or, oh, this is, really interesting for something that I told Tom about, something like that. So all of that stuff, the way I use it is I've integrated it to Notion. So all of my articles that I highlight, all those highlights are smashed together and put into a note in Notion in my database. So that's how I could like remember. I could make them into tasks and stuff like that to follow up on.
Yeah. I do the same. I sync it down to my like an actual note-taking tool
Mhm.
after I do the initial lightweight notes and the tagging here. I move it down
Yeah.
into like an official note-taking tool. Like I can keep more track of like the things that are coming through.
But that's
So
how we like bring that stuff, or how we kind of consume like the mountain, and you're kind of funneling it down. What we do for specifically for Copilot is one of those sources that comes into our Readwise reader, and then we highlight and all that stuff is this particular blog. It's the Microsoft 365 Copilot blog in tech community. And this is the what's new for August. So for this particular show that we're doing today, we've gone through all of those blog posts for the past 3 months for the summer in the Northern Hemisphere. And we have collated some of our most exciting things to share with you guys today. So I think, Andy, do you want to share? You want me to share this link in the chat?
yeah, go for it.
Yeah, let me put that in the chat for you guys, because this is, if you go up one level, like go to Copilot, subscribe to that RSS right there. Or if you are in the tech community, go ahead and follow that blog, and then you'll get updates for every single month. It's like the last week of the month they publish what's new in Copilot. And to kind of hone in a little bit more on like specifically what we have to talk about today, I've got our list of items that we're excited about for Copilot specifically. And we're going to kind of go back and forth with talking about some stuff in Word, in the Office website, Copilot chat, OneDrive, get into some of the specific applications and kind of just go back and forth a little bit on some of the stuff that we've seen in Copilot, show you a demo of like what it looks like and some of the things we've learned about it today. So does that sound pretty good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So the first one is grounded chat in Microsoft Word. And I think you've been using this a little bit more than I have, because you're kind of more of a Word user, right?
Yeah. Do you mind pulling up that blog post, like the actual blog post that from the tech community?
Yeah. Oh, it opened on my other window. There we go. Here we go.
Yeah. So we just want to scroll down to that particular portion of
I'm gonna
the
zoom in
blog
for you
post.
guys. So Glint and Viva engage. Yeah, here we go. So graph grounded chat.
Yeah, so this is a pretty big improvement for
Mhm.
Copilot across all the different Copilot experiences. From Copilot chat, we've had graph grounded data. So, like for example, if you go to Microsoft Teams, chat, and Copilot,
Mhm.
that is connected to graph grounded data, which means it's going to pull information from email and events and calendaring. It's going to pull information from files that you have stored in SharePoint, OneDrive, and Microsoft Teams. It's going to pull
Mhm.
conversations in Teams. It's going to pull conversations in like private group conversations or one-on-one conversations. So it's
Mhm.
graph grounded data. It's basically this Copilot experience can get to all of the Microsoft cloud content that you have from one endpoint. But you've
Mhm.
only been able to do it through Copilot chat for the longest time. Well, now with the announcement that they made in the blog and what we've seen over the summer is that we have graph grounded data starting to show up in other Copilot experiences. And that's one of the things that like we teach users about whenever they start working with Copilot. Copilot can do some amazing things, but depending on where you access Copilot, some of the capabilities are kind of narrowed down or scoped down to that specific application. So
Mhm.
now this graph grounded chat is starting to expand from a chat bot to Outlook and Word and other Copilot experiences. So
Mhm.
you would be able to go into Microsoft Outlook and you would be able to access um, Teams chats. So you could look at an email, but also cross reference a team chat that maybe you had with somebody internally in the organization. You would
Mhm.
be able to maybe start drafting a new email and reference a Word document that you've got stored in OneDrive. You would be able
Mhm.
to pull up meeting notes and reference that as you're drafting a new email conversation or making a reply to an existing conversation. And you can do that like John's got pulled up on the screen here in the upper right hand corner by selecting the Copilot icon. And then you're going to be able to work with that graph grounded data from here. So it's been rolling out for like the last 2 months, but I think that's a huge improvement in the Copilot experience, because now you're able to access all of your content from multiple Copilot experiences versus like, let me go here and do this and then come over here and do that. Now it's meeting me where I work.
So it's not a great example. I'm trying to like do a couple of these prompts. But essentially, like, I haven't been at mentioned. This is like a sandbox environment. So it's like, hey, you aren't at mentioned anywhere. But this is what Andy's talking about, is like that grounding, rather than what we've seen in the past is like, you got to go into an email and then get a summary from Copilot for that particular thread. These other experiences of like getting out of just the app context gives you like more context across all of Microsoft 365. So I can manage my mailbox from this. I can say like, hey, I'm looking for this like file that somebody sent to me a couple weeks ago. I don't remember who it was, but I know it was about that topic. And it can like find that and say, oh, here's where it is. It was sent by, this person. And here's the PowerPoint slide deck, for example. So it just gives you a lot more context than being like, well, I don't know what you're talking about because it's not in the document you have open. So I'm just going to hallucinate a bunch of nonsense. That's what it was doing beforehand. Now it can actually ground itself in your data, which is very helpful, especially in Microsoft Word. We've seen in the past where it will hallucinate when you know that it was like the information is out there in SharePoint, but Copilot in Word couldn't get to it before. So it would just make up nonsense. Now you can actually mention those files, or you can say, I know that we have like these sales pitches about wind farms. I know it's out there on SharePoint. Ask about it, and it will look through SharePoint before it starts making things up. So very handy and very useful.
And that's not only coming to Outlook, you'll see it in Word as well. And I think they're starting to roll that out in some of the other Copilot experiences. So stay tuned there. The other thing that I think is really important on that blog post is the graph grounded data. Go back up. Graph grounded data our users will see significant improvements to the ability to reason over large files. Now, I don't know if we have anything specifically called out in the show on that, but if you were working with a Word document, the original limit amount of content there was around like 18,000 words, I believe. They've now bumped that up to 80,000 words. That's a really large document. So that's for like just a Word document. So now Copilot can work with a much larger Word document. You don't have to break it into smaller chunks in order to be able to do things like summary and analysis and extracting insights and key points from that. So much larger data sets there. The other thing is that the prompt box, where we actually enter in the prompts, they're increasing the limits there from 2,000 characters to 16,000 characters. So for those of you that like to try to create the world's greatest prompt, that super one-shot prompt that always works, you're going to have 16,000 characters that you're going to be able to play with in the prompt editor versus the original 2,000 that was there. And I've actually seen that starting to roll out across.
Is that out yet? Like, let me go into Copilot in chat. Yep, there it is. So that used to say 0 of 2,000. Now it says 0 of 16,000. Yeah, I totally missed that. That's awesome.
That's a much larger
that's a lot
set of instructions, a much larger prompt that you can give Copilot to reason against whenever you're working. And one of my favorite techniques to actually utilize that is called meta prompting. That's where you have Copilot go through a scenario, maybe a back and forth conversation. And when you get the output that you want from that conversation, you ask Copilot to create a reusable prompt that can give me a similar result, but for different topics that I can plug and play, leave placeholders that I can plug and play in, and create a reusable prompt template for me. Copilot can do that. And now that you've got a 16,000 character limit, you can be very detailed in things like the output format that you want, the sections, the style that you want, the amount of detail that you want in each specific section. You've got more to work with now if you want that like larger form. But I find the
Yeah.
combination of the larger number of characters with meta prompting is a huge game changer. And I don't use that term loosely. I don't like saying game changer. That is one that I will actually qualify as a game changer. Being able to put larger meta prompts into the system, you can definitely get much better, higher quality results with that.
Yeah. So we've covered the graph grounded data, which is kind of like a underlying infrastructure type of technology. Like we're seeing larger context windows, we're seeing the ability to access more data. Jumping into more specific stuff, Andy, do you want to cover the help me create section that's
Yeah,
been new
absolutely.
as of this last summer? And that is on the office.com homepage, is this new help me create feature. So I'll switch over to your screen here if you want to
Yeah.
drive and show us where that's at.
So help me create. I'm at Microsoft 365 home, and
Hmm.
you can see that in the upper corner up here. Basically, Microsoft365.com. I'm logged in with my enterprise account. From this homepage, if you look on the left-hand sidebar, let me get the arrow. From the left-hand sidebar, you're going to see the create option right up there. And what we want to do is click on create. And the first thing that you're going to see is actually relatively new, and it's the help me create option. This is a great introduction into Copilot for teammates that are brand new to it, never really interacted with it before. And we don't have to navigate to specific apps. We can start the experience here and then kind of show them the magic of Copilot before we get into the kind of the specific details and the nuances. So when you go to help me create, it's going to bring open this editor, and you're going to be able to go in and describe your idea in natural language. You can tell Copilot what you're thinking about creating, and it's going to guide you to maybe the best app for that experience and help you to get started. But don't worry, if you're brand new to it, you can actually go down and there's a bunch of different examples that are already built into it. So you can say, well, I need to create a sales presentation for an innovative toaster. I think that's pretty specific. That's actually kind of funny. I want to see what it's going to do. So we would generate that, and then it's going to prompt essentially Copilot, and then it's going to come back with a couple of results and get you started. So we're going to let this work through because I want to see the innovative toaster presentation that it's thinking about. The curiosity got the best of me. So we're having a brief segue in our deep dive here as it creates the draft around that. And because it's a presentation, it's going to lean on PowerPoint, but it's also suggesting Sway and Word. Now, I know PowerPoint can create a presentation. I know Word can create a presentation. And I've used Sway many, many years ago to create a presentation. I wasn't sure that Microsoft still remembered that Sway could create presentations because it seems like they kind of forgot about that product.
Yeah.
But we've got the basis of a title slide, some additional slides over here off to the side. And then if we need to, we're able to go in and adjust this, the length, the tone, the type that we want to work with. We could regenerate this. It's suggesting PowerPoint, but let's actually see Sway create new, Word create new. I kind of want to click on all of these. So we're going to see what happens. So I'm going to click on the Word. It opens up a new tab. It says it's indicating that it's still loading over there. So I'm going to let that run for just a second. In the meantime, I'm going to go back over here. Now it's telling me that it's generating. I'll go back to that tab in a moment. I'm really curious though to see what it's going to do with Sway.
Yeah,
For
me too.
curiosity's sake, I just want to click on the button. I can't resist.
So this is kind of one of those like, what do I use when type of situations, but it's more like I've got an idea and I don't know how to like get it out of my head, right? This tool can help you like say like, here's the couple different vehicles to share your idea with the world or with your organization. Do you want to jump into that app and create a draft right now? And that's essentially what it's doing. So You can create a slide deck, you can create a Word document, and just kind of see like where your creativity takes you. If you're like, well, I like the format here over the format in the other app. Let's go, let's chase this rabbit for a little while. You can do that.
And it just really takes the decision making away, like from, do I use this? Do I use that? It just gives you some examples to kind of
Hmm.
like get over the blank page. And I think that's the biggest barrier, just getting over that blank page. And it kind of does that. So we saw that it did a pretty good job with Word. It went ahead and created, we've got headers inside of here, header one. Each header one's actually going to be a new slide if we were to create a presentation based off of this PowerPoint. It's got normal text in it that would apply to the slide. If I go to the PowerPoint tab, you can see it's actually created a number of different slides for me. There's no images, but there is text. And so we're
Hmm.
over the blank page. We could add a design to it, add in images. For Sway, this is what I assumed was going to happen. Nothing.
Just a blank sway. Yeah.
Just a blank Sway to start off with. But that's what the Help Me Create can actually do. You just describe your idea, what you're thinking about in natural language. And it kind of
Hmm.
looks at the different apps that are out there and it gives you a couple of different apps to choose from. But it takes that original thought, topic, idea and kind of expands on it a little bit. And then you can start generating something brand new from there. And you don't have to think about what app do I start in. Well, I want to create a PowerPoint presentation. Is it better if I do an outline and a draft in Word and then the PowerPoint? Or do I go to PowerPoint and just start from scratch? You don't have to think about
Hmm.
that. You can just get the idea down. Copilot's going to give you a couple of recommendations, and then you can start the process without a blank page. You've got some words down, then you can start
Yeah.
really massaging that into something that you would turn into an actual deliverable.
Yeah. That's pretty nice. And obviously, like we all kind of know what Word and PowerPoint are used for, but what you might find is as you're prompting or like putting in your help me create, if you talk about like the way you want to create it, like um your kind of like work style, if you will, it may lead you more towards like, I was expecting to do this in like Word or OneNote, but Copilot might recommend to you something like Loop or something like that. That's like, hey, you know, I know you're talking or your mind right now is in the phase of like, I'm just going to put text on a page and that's Microsoft Word, but you have a little bit more flexibility if you do this in Loop. We can set you up a Loop workspace and then you can bring people in, because based off of what you told me in the prompt, um you might want to like bring in colleagues and have them like co-author at the same time, and you might want to have mixed media, right, where you're adding tables and stuff. So it might recommend some tool that you've never even used before, and that's where like this help me create might help you kind of discover some new applications. Like some people who are watching this might have never even heard of Sway, and they might try out this new presentation format that they never even knew existed before. Yeah, and we can see this one. It's recommending like, well, you could do an Excel spreadsheet, which you've done for the past 20 years, or you could try a SharePoint list, and let's create a SharePoint list and see how dynamic that is. You might kind of discover an app that you've never kicked the tires on.
And that's just really cool to show people that you do have options. You don't have to be locked into just a PowerPoint for a
Hmm.
presentation, just an Excel file if you want to manage like a spreadsheet of information. It does show that there are other apps that you can take advantage of out there.
Hmm.
So that's the help me to, and it's a subtle one. If you're a power user, you're probably going to skip right over this. But if you're newer to Copilot, if you're newer to just generative AI, this is a
Hmm.
great way to get started and kind of learn some of the ins and outs of the capabilities that are built into Microsoft 365 and Copilot.
Yeah. So if I could take over, I wanted to cover two things in the chat experience. And the first one is the something I've been looking forward to for a while, which is the ability to hone in and pinpoint files a little bit more specifically, right? So this is available in the office.com/chat experience, as well as Copilot in Microsoft Teams. And I'm going to talk a little bit, of like some of the fragmentation of like what's showing up in different website experiences. We'll cover that in a second. But where I want to show you to get to this is if you go to office.com and then on the sidebar, you've got Copilot. You can open up this Copilot chat experience. Or if you're in Microsoft Teams and you click Copilot right here, or you click Copilot in the side rail, you also have it available right there. But on the website, I wanted to show this new box that we have that says add people, files, and more. I don't really know why Microsoft is giving me 3 ways to do something within like the same 3 inches on my screen, but there's 3 ways to invoke this. You can use a / command. So if I hit / on my keyboard, it pops up this kind of like recent item picker. It's got people, files, and meetings and emails. Or if I click the plus button down here, it opens up the same thing. Or if I click the paperclip item, it brings up the exact same window. But this is how you mention things, where you say, hey, Copilot, I want you to look at this particular Word document, summarize it for me, or help me compare these 2 slide decks, something like that. And the complaints I've heard a lot of people is like, okay, it doesn't have the file I'm looking for in this list because I didn't recently open it or it's not showing it for some reason. Well, now rolling out across 365 Copilot experiences is this new upload button right here. Now, if you click this, it gives you a file browsing experience. And if you click attach, it's going to bring up the cloud file browser, which is defaulted to your OneDrive. And then you can also dig into SharePoint sites as well. So if I go to my files, this is just my raw OneDrive itself, all the files and folders that are in my OneDrive. So I could select like one file, I could select multiple files, and I can do up to 5 files I can mention, and I can hit select. But if it's not in my OneDrive, you notice this quick access area right here. This is all of the SharePoint sites that you have access to. And some people who are kind of, new to this experience, you may not realize that all of your Teams channels, that files tab that's in your Teams channel, that is just SharePoint on the back end. So you're going to see your Microsoft Teams also listed right here. If you don't see it listed under quick access, there's also the more places. So I can browse all of the SharePoints that I'm a member of, like this Copilot lovers community. I can click into that, and I can also see all of the channels because this happens to be a Microsoft team. I can go into the general channel and I can access like that loop file. I select it, and now I've mentioned that file, and I can like go on with my day. So if you know where the file is, but you don't necessarily know what it's called, you can use this new upload button and you can kind of navigate to that particular file, select it, and now you're talking about that file.
John, can I offer one more tip on that for people
go
that
ahead,
are
man.
tuning in? So can you go back to that menu that you had popped up where it showed some of the
Sure.
quick access files?
So if I click more and then upload and then attach. Yep.
So you mentioned going to more places to see quick access, but sometimes if you're a member of like an enterprise, you might have more teams and more SharePoint sites than you can keep track of.
Yeah,
And
my
you might
UI
not be
one
able
has
to
like
find it here.
75.
So the pro tip is open a new tab in your web browser and navigate to a SharePoint site.
Okay. Yeah, so if we go back over to Office and then we click like the waffle right here, you can go to all of your SharePoint sites and you can kind of like drill in that way. Or if you know like the URL of like whatever.sharepoint.com/my favorite community, you could also go there directly. But I'm going to go like this sandbox home. So here's a SharePoint site.
Navigate
Well,
to
that's
the
not a good
primary
example.
document library in
let's
one of
do
these
John's
sites.
playground and then documents.
There you go.
Okay.
So from here, if you look in the ribbon up at the top or the command bar, you'll see in the center of the screen, it says pin to quick access. It's in the center. There you go.
Right there.
You can navigate to the site itself. So go SharePoint home and then navigate to it. And then you can pin that to quick access. And the next time you go to that menu, it'll actually show up in that sidebar for quick access. And you'll see the most recent there. And then you can pin the ones that are important to you. But that's a pro tip if you don't see it, or if you have too many teams and you have too many SharePoint sites that you're a part of, navigate to the actual location that you want to see that you want to
Mm-hmm.
pull content from, and choose that shortcut up at the top to pin to quick access. And then it's just a matter
Mm-hmm.
of refreshing the screen. And then
Yeah,
you'll be able to see those additional locations along that quick access menu along the side.
that's a great tip. So I just did that Copilot Lovers that was under more places and it's not showing up. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to refresh my browser. And then I'm going to go back into that upload area. And now there you go, Copilot Lovers, and it's got a pin icon right there because I took action to pin it. That's a great tip. Thanks for pointing that out. I never would have remembered to tell people that.
That's one of those under the radar type features that
Mhm,
showed up in the command bar that, like, until you really explore it, you don't understand the impact of it. And to be truthful, it was
mhm,
Mark D. Anderson from Simpraxis who did a blog post on it that like really got me thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? That actually makes a ton of sense. And so from that point on, that's one thing that I coached to my team, our teammates, to if something's important to you and you're pulling documents from it regularly, maybe pin it to
mhm.
that quick access so that you can access it in Copilot. You can access it when you do a move to or a copy to, and you're moving files back and forth. Those are locations that you work with frequently. Make sure they're readily available versus just depending on the recent and relevant from the system to automatically surface what it thinks you might be looking for.
Mhm. The other thing that I wanted to cover outside of the upload feature is the new catch up tab as well in Copilot Chat. So again, if you go to office.com/chat, we've got what we've always had is this try these prompts area where it's like this is powered by Copilot Lab, and it gives you like a place to start. Like, what's the latest with Alistair? So I can like bring him up and then it mentions him. So these are kind of conversation starters. Something that's new in the Copilot Chat experience is this catch up button. If I click this, it oh great, it's not going to show. It gives you essentially, if you're in a real environment, it gives you a ribbon, basically, almost like a storyline of like squares along this middle section right here, where it'll say, "Hey, you've got this meeting coming up. Do you want to catch up for this meeting or prepare for the meeting? Hey, you've got this document that was sent to you in a Teams chat 3 days ago. You haven't opened it yet. Do you want to get a summary?" So it's kind of like, here's some things that you might be missing out on. Do you want to like kind of drill into them so you can kind of proactively look and prepare for things and kind of like get through a bunch of stuff that might have like you missed on your radar. So that's the catch up tab within the Copilot Chat. And I want to point out that, like, so in office.com chat, we've got all of these features. If I go to Copilot in Teams, you see I've got, some of the features, like the upload button's not showing up right now, but the catch up tab is. If I go to copilot.microsoft.com, I've got the work tab. I don't have catch up and I don't have the upload button. What is going on? And I think I want to throw a little bit of shade at Microsoft here to say, if you are confused by this fragmented chat experience, you are not alone. I am also confused to the point that I created a table about this to show what I am seeing in all of the different chat experiences across what Microsoft calls Copilot. So not even just Copilot for M365, but what they call Copilot with commercial data protection. There are different capabilities in the different experiences, and it is difficult to manage all of that right now. I hope Microsoft will be bringing those experiences together because I shouldn't have to maintain a table of what button is in which of these stupid chat URLs that I have to remember off the top of my head. I don't want to open 4 browser tabs to just use the thing that Microsoft calls Copilot. But ranting aside, I want to be helpful and let you know this is what I have found that I can do in the different chats. So if you want to attach files, I've seen this in the office.com, then click the chat button. I've also seen this in chat in Outlook, and I've seen it in chat in Teams. So that is where I have seen it, but I cannot find it in copilot.microsoft.com. So that URL where you've got the work and web tab, It's not in that one. Likewise, plugins are not showing up there, but they are showing up at these other endpoints, and so on and so forth. Andy, I did want to call out, when we talked on Monday, all we had was this experience where if I go to chat and I click the attach button and then upload. Let me get to it here. You see how it says only attach cloud files?
Mm-hmm.
In my EY account, I now have attach cloud files and I have upload local file too. So I'm seeing both of them now. So I think this is a process that's still rolling out, but we had some confusion about like, why the heck did they call it upload if it's only cloud files? There is a local file one that's coming. I've been seeing it in some of my browsers and then not in other browsers. And it might be even like a cookie thing going on. So I want to update this real quick for you guys and say that I have now seen this in these other places. And what excites me about the attached local file is that gives you the ability to go to like office.com/chat, click upload, and then click the local option. And I download like PDFs from Gartner or something like that. And I don't want to have to go put it in my OneDrive, wait for the Microsoft Graph to become aware of it, wait for the upload to process, and then ask Copilot about it. It's in my downloads folder. Why can't I just slap it in the chat? That's what this button does. So whenever you get that upload local file, which is right underneath this attach area, when you do that, it brings up your local computer. You can grab that download that you just did, and then you can chat about it immediately without having to wait for it to kind of like percolate through the system. So I wanted to point that out. I found that out yesterday in my production environment, which isn't any kind of early access. I think it's just one of those rollout issues of you see things show up and then 2 days later you see it in the place you didn't see it yesterday. So
before we move away from that chart, though, I do want
Sure.
to call out something on the web tab.
Yeah.
The web tab is my starting place, and I'll explain why. When you go to the web tab, it doesn't pull from your work data automatically. You have to toggle that work switch up there in the corner.
Yeah. This area right here is called Copilot with commercial data protection. So it has like a green shield on it, but it does not know anything about your Microsoft Graph data. You go to the work tab, and that is Copilot for M365.
Right.
So,
and that commercial data protection is soon to be called enterprise data protection. That's a recent public announcement from Microsoft. They're making the change there.
Yeah.
But I like going here as a starting point when I want to start from scratch. When I want to research, when I want to ask questions, when I want to do a web search, I'll go here first because it's not going to pull my work content as the primary source. And that's what the work tab tends to do. That's what the other Copilot tabs tend to do. They look at work first, then they look at the training data, then they look at the web searches if you toggle the plugin to extend to the web. But I like going to the web tab first so that I can start a clean search. Extend, the training data into the web and start pulling things back. But notice the other things that are highlighted here. Image generation. If you want to use Copilot to create an image, you go to the web tab because that's one of the only places that you can create an image with natural language. Image
uploading a picture of your refrigerator and asking what you can make with these ingredients. Copilot under the web tab can do that because it has the GPT vision capabilities.
Or a whiteboard and explain the process and help you to categorize it. So if you have like a physical whiteboard
I like to do that with whiteboard drawings of like architectural diagrams. And I'm like, okay, I know what I've drawn, but I'm having trouble like explaining it to a human. Tell me what this means, right? And so you can ask Copilot based off a picture, and it can kind of make it sound that didn't come out of your crazy brain,
Speaking of brain, we both spend a lot of time in the personal productivity world, the Tiago Forte, Cal Newport, Adam Grant world, trying to figure out just how to be a little bit more productive. They put a lot of screenshots on social media with like complex processes or, some charts that kind of try to simplify processes. I'll screenshot those and go right into Copilot chat and ask it, okay, help me to understand this and apply it to my workflow. And it'll take the image and it'll, extrapolate what's in it and it'll turn it into a conversation. And then I can kind of figure out how something like that fits into my workflow. So the image
Yeah.
understanding there is great.
It
And then
also
they've
has
got the
mic capabilities where you can talk to Copilot, the notebook, which we talked about in the past as well,
Mhm.
where you can kind of go back and forth and you can basically tune your prompts and kind of create them collaboratively with Copilot. And then that attaching local files as well. The difference is this doesn't upload it to your OneDrive because it's just the web tab.
Yeah. But I just wanted to call that out. Like that tab, I think is like that toggle is kind of overlooked because it's not connecting to the graph
Yeah.
and pulling back, work data. Sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you just want to get to some specific information
hmm
without all of the nuances or all the, you know, conflict with what you've already created. Sometimes you
Yeah.
just want to start blank. And this web tab is the way to do that, but it can also do some pretty crazy things with images.
Yeah. So that's what I wanted to cover about the chat experience. There is an entirely new Copilot app, which is Copilot in OneDrive. Did you want to drive this part, Andy?
Yeah, I can take the lead on that one.
Awesome. Yeah. Show us what we could do with Copilot in OneDrive.
So I was actually throwing a link in the chat for anybody who wants to learn more about Copilot Notebook, which is one of those features that's from the web tab only. So if you're joining live, we put that
hmm
in the chat window. That should be out there for anybody who's interested in that. So let's actually dive into OneDrive. So this is where you're going to see some brand new Copilot experiences. And I'm going to start pretty basic with this, and then we'll get a little bit more advanced. One of the core things that you actually do with OneDrive is draft content, but it's private for just you. And then once you're done drafting that content, it's a publishing mechanism. You need to publish it to SharePoint. You need to publish it to Teams to make it more broadly available. Or sometimes you just want to share that file with a limited number of teammates to collaborate on it and start engaging with it. But one of the things that Microsoft's actually done that's been really helpful, and I'm going to lean into the innovative toaster for the rest of this demo, is you can share. And as part of that share menu that now pops up, when you go to generate the message that you want to send to people, you can now invoke Copilot to create a summary of that document, which is really amazing because now, like, I don't have to worry about wordsmithing this. It really just like, here's a bullet point. This is
hmm
great. Who am I going to send this to? Daniel Glenn, you've been volunteered. I'm going to send this to you today. And I'm just now like, here's a summary of the document. And just like that, I would read it. I'd probably wordsmith it a little bit, but like, it's that simple to go in now and have Copilot help you to generate the summary of the thing that you're now sharing out. And I think that's a
hmm
huge feature that it saves you a lot of time. You can still
And
customize the message,
on
add,
the public roadmap, this feature is also coming to Word on the desktop apps and mobile apps as well. So it's going to be embedded in Word, but that's like later on this year on their roadmap.microsoft.
and I'm happy to see that extend to other experiences. I'm glad it's in OneDrive though, because that's where I primarily work.
hmm
I draft there, create there, publish from there,
Yeah.
extend it to other published locations. So that's the first feature that we wanted to call out in OneNote. So that's share. The second feature that's in OneNote that we wanted to call out,
OneDrive.
or
Sorry.
sorry, OneDrive. Oh, I've had OneNote conversations all week long. It's like I'm living in
Really?
the past. OneDrive. Thank you for the correction. The other OneDrive features that I want to call out is I'm still at OneDrive Home. And
hmm
if I go right down here, in line in my menu bar, there's a Copilot icon. And I can invoke Copilot from there to summarize against that document without having to open that document. I can invoke one OneDrive to create an FAQ or ask a question of that document without having to open that document. So I don't necessarily have to drill down into it, ask it a question. So Copilot's going to pop up here for me in the side panel, and then it's referencing that particular item, so we can ask it a question, or we can create an FAQ. Now, I clicked on create an FAQ and it took me away from that sidebar. That's a nuance that I think they're still kind of working out there, because it did try to open a sidebar panel. But here it just went and looked at that simple little that simple little outline we created earlier. And now I've got an FAQ that's built around that. But I can continue to follow up with that and ask it questions. I can provide feedback. I can copy that. And it's going to show me exactly what it's referencing. I know the document is still highlighted in the background, but I don't have to drill down into it.
Go ahead and click that ask a question button. That invokes the sidebar. So I found that yesterday, actually, is that when you click that action, that gives you that sidebar. I don't see another place to toggle it on and off other than when you are having a Copilot conversation. You can pick up, or you can continue it in this little bar.
And that's where I think there's still some behind the scenes work that they're working on implementing here. Like, I think this is early stages for this. I know this just showed up in our demo tenant not too long ago, so I really think that's early stages on it. If I'm putting on my wizard hat and looking into my crystal ball, what I think might happen is going to be similar to what we actually see in Outlook, where you have a Copilot icon in the upper corner there, and it brings open Copilot against your entire mailbox. I feel like that might be the direction they're headed, where this sidebar might be something that you can invoke with an icon in the UI. I don't have any behind the scenes information on that. I just kind of feel like that's where it might be going, because the first time we clicked on this, nothing happened. But like you're saying, once I did the FAQ and popped it up here and then asked it a question because it had something to go off of, that's when the sidebar can vote. That's where I think there's still some things that they're rolling out behind the scenes.
Yeah, it makes logical sense that they might go that direction eventually. Yeah.
So as we're looking at this, like, you don't have to open the document in order to get that summary. You don't have to open that document in order to kind of see what's in it, and it works pretty fast. So like, if you have a lot of documents in there, this can help you to move pretty quickly through them to find the actual one you want, especially when things like file names are similar or project names are similar. I'm doing this from OneDrive home. But if I go down to my files, I'm going to be able to do the same thing in my files. So like, I can navigate in my files to a certain folder, and then in that folder, I could go ahead and summarize, create my FAQ. Now I'm doing that in line with the menu bar to the right of the file name, but you would also be able to go and just select the item using the check mark off to the side, and then go up to the command bar at the top, and you'd be able to summarize, create your FAQ, or even ask a question right over there, and Copilot against that same thing. Now, I asked it a question. Now it's saying summarize this file, and there's a few clicks to get it to work over there. Again, I think they're just kind of working that out, but it's summarizing the file and drilling down into it. I haven't opened the file. I think that's really helpful. But as we're looking through this, like, I've done this with a Word document a couple of times. Let's change the file type. Let's go down and let's try this with like maybe a PowerPoint presentation. So let's just summarize this as a PowerPoint. I like that it does kind of a thumbnail icon to indicate that it's a PowerPoint, the opening slide. It's, so in this case, summarizing each slide in the deck, which is really helpful. Really nice table of contents. Gives a little bit of information around it. So PowerPoint works. All right, let's go down here. Let's do an Excel file. So I'm going to open up. I'll just do a summarize against this again, because summarize tends to be the one that works the best out of the box. So it looked down into the customer profitability analysis that I have, customer activity, profitability analysis, and then summary metrics. That's pretty accurate based off of what I know that's in there. Well, let's try it against a couple of additional file types. So I've got, let's say if I can find a PDF in this in here. So let's actually go. There we go. We'll go to this folder. Let me refresh. All right, so here I've got a couple of PDFs. Let's see if it'll summarize a PDF. And this is based off of, initially it was a Word document saved as a PDF. And based off of what I noticed in the body of that, that's pretty close to the information that's actually in that document. So it's fairly accurate at first glance. It's summarizing a fairly large PDF document. That's about 8 to 10 pages inside of there. So we can check off PDF that it works with that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We've got a couple other file types that we want to explore. So we've done Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and PDF. Let's actually head back.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have a few video files, so I want to see if it's going to work against a video file. So let me go back to my coffee shop plans. All right, this is a video file. So let's actually see if we can work with it there. And as I select that, there's no option for Copilot for a stream video file.
Okay.
So it's not going to show up there. However, it is a video. If you invoke stream with it, you would be able to use Copilot in stream, provided there's a transcript. So it looks like that part may not have come across into OneDrive yet, but there is still a way to be able to use Copilot against a video file. Just open it up and stream and work with it. All right, so that's the video file. Couple other file types. Let me see if we can work with.
Have you looked at loop yet? Like a loop file?
That's what I'm looking for next. Yep.
Okay.
Loop. I know I have a loop file in here somewhere. There we go.
There we go.
I got a loop file here, and I go and the Copilot icon does show up for loop. So I'm going to summarize that.
Okay.
Whiteboard summary 1.fluid. So it is working with a loop file, which is great. So we're getting a summary off of that. But it also tells me at the top the participants, the date, the ideas that were generated, which now leads me, can I use it against whiteboard? So let's actually see if I have a whiteboard folder here. So whiteboards. So I'll go there, and I'm not seeing anything Copilot related in the menu bar. I'm not seeing anything in the command bar at the top. I'm not seeing anything in the meatball menu. So I can't invoke Copilot against a whiteboard file without actually going in it. But if I, much like Stream, if I opened up the file, I would be able to use the whiteboard or Copilot feature that's actually built in.
Yeah.
I think the last couple that we had on our note on our list, and for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into each one of them, but it does not work with images. It does not work with OneNote notebooks. It doesn't work with Visio diagrams. And like I just showed you with the whiteboards, you have to open the whiteboard in order to work with it. The other thing is, if you select like a folder, it won't summarize all the files in a folder. But you're probably wondering, does it work with more than one file? So like, let's say, for example, I've got 2 recipes up here. I've got the Blackbeard's Delight recipe and the Blackbeard's Revenge recipe. And if I select both of those, notice the menu bar at the top is still available for Copilot, and I can summarize. So we're going to summarize both of those at one time. It was looking for something it thinks is relevant, and voila, now it's giving me a concise summary of 2 completely separate files in one area. That's awesome. But that's not all. If you go back and you compare files, it'll give you a table-based comparison between the 2 files. Now, this one's a little interesting, so we'll let this load.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people asking to be able to do this. Like they know they can do it with like mentioning 2 files, you know, but they've been wanting the structure that this has where it's in a table format.
Yep. So it's given us the table format. There's a column there for aspect, and aspect in this case means ingredients and instructions, theme, and additional notes. And then it gave a whole column dedicated to one file and a completely separate column dedicated to the other file. It's given me the references at the bottom, but at a glance, it's extracted the key information based off of the rows, the topics that it's looking for, and it's given me a way to compare that. Now, for full disclosure, this isn't the only way that I can do a comparison. For example, if you were to go back to Copilot for Microsoft Home and say, compare and then reference those two files. And so we know that's, come on. There's a little bit of a delay there.
Mm-hmm.
The Blackbeard's Revenge and / I'm looking for Blackbeard's Delight. If you go to Copilot chat and ask it for a comparison in a table format, it'll do something similar. It'll go in and it'll try to extract key insights from the two different files, and it'll give you a similar type of table and format. We've been able to do this for a while. This is called synthesis. You can even,
you just have to remember to ask for a table, you know?
Yeah.
But in Copilot OneDrive, you just click it and it does it for you. So it kind of, you know, takes away some of the prompt engineering you had to do before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to kind of showcase this a little more, I do want to show like what happens if you compare like maybe different files. So like, let's do a coffee shop business plan and a coffee shop pitch deck. And then let's do a summary of two completely different kinds of files and even two completely different use cases for those files. And let's see what it's going to output there. So once again, it's dividing it up by the different documents, the business plan up top and the coffee shop pitch deck down below. It looks like it's pulling each of the individual slides and the key metrics based off of the sections that are in that document. So it will work across different document types. Now I want to take that same thing one more time, and I want to go and I want to do a compare files. And this is the one where it should put it into a table format without me having to ask for it. Now in this one, notice the metadata: author, date last modified, document type, and then it goes into some of the main content that it can get. So I have noticed this when you're working with a comparison of different files, it does try to fill that with some metadata at a high level, document type, modified date, before it actually gets into the body of the content. Now we've done a comparison between the two. Let's ask it a question. So it actually brings that over here. So I don't know, what are the financial projections based off of what it's pulled over? So now we can go into that sidebar and we can work with this a little bit further, but now we're referencing those two different files within OneDrive. So that takes us through a few of the different experiences that you're going to start to see in OneDrive. I'm curious to see if this is going to roll out into SharePoint document libraries in the near future. I think that would be super helpful in SharePoint document libraries. And the foundation behind the scenes is very similar. So I hope that we're going to see it there. I'm also curious to see, is this sidebar going to be something that we can interact with more easily in the future inside of OneDrive versus just relying on the menu bar at the top? Again, these are early days, and I'm speculating that is going to be something that we're going to be able to use more frequently in the future. I would like to be able to take the Copilot sidebar and use that to extend my OneDrive capabilities, search, research, drafting content, staying in the flow of work, and having Copilot really sitting there side by side. So that's something that I think that maybe that product team is probably thinking about. I hope they're thinking about it. And if they're not, hopefully I'll be at the MVP Summit in 2025 and I can give them that feedback in person.
Yeah. A bit of a detour. So it's not specific to OneDrive, but Andy, did you want to show the new Copilot button in the file previewer type of feature? Like when you open up a PDF inside of your OneDrive or in a Teams tab or in a SharePoint?
So this is our pro tip detour. And what we're talking about is the preview option. I'm a big fan of the preview option. You can preview over 300 different file types. I really like the preview option because it gives you a way to view the contents of the document without having to open it in like Word, Excel, PowerPoint for the web. And
Yeah.
sometimes if you're trying to just quickly at a glance compare a few documents, this is really helpful. So like here I've got Blackbeard's Delight. If I want to move to the next file in my OneDrive, I just click the next button and now I'm onto the next file and I don't have to like be in Office, deal with tabs and opening and closing tabs. And it's just really helpful to be able to kind of move back and forth between some different files. But we noticed in testing that there's a Copilot option that shows up in the preview menu. So while I'm previewing a file, I can click on Copilot and then I get Copilot right off to the side. And, I can leverage Copilot against that in the preview mode without having to be in Office. So I'm going to go through just a couple of different file types just to kind of show what this looks like. So this is a Word document, works pretty well. We'll go on to the next one. This is a PowerPoint presentation. Just mocking up like a chalkboard like diagram. We'll see a Copilot there. So summarize.
That's so convenient. Like you don't have to just go all the way into the app and then back all the way out to go to another file. It's just it's like the quick look option, on a Mac that we've been used to.
And I use this all the time because I have a lot of presentations that are named the same thing. And, maybe I just deliver them in different months. And this can kind of quickly show me the most recent. This is a video file. So there's no Copilot there, just a coffee cup, just waiting to somebody pick it up. This is actually a Word document. So I would be able to use Copilot against the Word document, coffee shop plans. I'm going to exit the preview mode by going to the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to scroll down until I get to, actually, let me go to a folder where I have a PDF in it so you can see the PDF.
Okay.
So I got the lab document files here. So you can preview a PDF here. All right. So I'm in preview. Hey, look, telling me you can preview over 300 different file types. That's great. You got your tools at the top. Thanks. But I'm in a PDF clearly. And then we go over here and I can summarize the PDF even in the preview mode. I love the preview mode, clearly. It's just super handy for not having to deal with tabs and back and forth and just to quickly compare, move visually a couple of documents. And the other thing I should point out is like just looking at this, like there's a menu bar at the bottom where you can tell it exactly what page you want to jump to. You can also zoom in or out, bigger, smaller. You can change or rotate it. You can even use this to search through the document and highlight and look for certain things in it. And that's all super helpful in the preview mode. But now that we got Copilot against it, you can ask questions against that thing while it's in preview mode. I don't have to go and like open this in another reader application or another tab. And when I'm done doing what I do here, I just close it and I'm right back in the OneDrive where I left off. And I think that's a huge time saver. So that was our pro tip detour. Hope you enjoyed it. And now, John, I'm going to hand it off to you for the next section.
All right. So next I wanted to talk about Copilot in Outlook and some of the new things that we've gotten over the past couple months in Copilot within the Outlook experience. And there's three things that I wanted to highlight. Earlier on or so far, we've had the ability to, summarize an email thread or help us draft a reply to an email, draft a new email, get coaching with an email. Those have kind of been the three core competencies. But Microsoft over the past couple months has really made it so you can kind of expand your capabilities outside of an individual email thread. And they've done that in two ways with two Copilot shortcuts or Copilot chats, if you will. The first one, we showed it a little bit earlier in this live stream, but it's the Copilot button in the upper right-hand corner of your window. If you open this up, it gives you a sidebar. And this is basically like an in-app experience for Outlook. And I'm in Outlook on the web right now. So if you're at outlook.office.com, you've got this Copilot in the upper corner. And what this does is it will help you work outside of just a single email thread. So you can find things in your email like, hey, you know, find all the attachments in the last 2 weeks from my mailbox. Find that email from Tom that had the latest menu from our spring lineup or something like that. So you can help find stuff. It can also help you orchestrate things in your email. So this one is create an inbox rule, right? And this is something that a lot of people like, you know that you can do rules in Outlook, but you don't really know all the clicks to go do it. So I could say, create an inbox rule to label all emails from Alistair as blue, right? And it will orchestrate and help me create that inbox rule where I don't really know all of the little clicks to go do that particular task. It can help me out with that. So see, it popped open the settings to the rules area. It does this and says everything from, and it found Alistair Pugin. I've never pronounced your last name, Al. But it found him because he's in the tenant, and then it's going to categorize it as blue. So it took my plain text, my natural language, it understood what I wanted to do, and then there we go. Now I've got a rule in Outlook to label all of that stuff as blue. So that's something that you can do to kind of orchestrate things in Outlook. And it can help you find things. It can help you organize your mailbox, do that type of stuff. So that is kind of a across the mailbox type of a Copilot experience. And this is like one of those promises we saw back January of last year, right? It's been like a year and a half where they said, you'll be able to tackle your mountain of email. We're starting to see baby steps towards that direction. The second thing is a new Copilot chat app experience in Outlook on the web. So again, outlook.office.com. If you go to your sidebar on the right-hand side, you now have a Copilot icon as well. And it might be underneath the app section, or it might just be in the rail right there. I don't think I can drag. Okay, I can't drag out right now. But if you open that out, it opens up the full Copilot. And it's basically like outlook.office.com/chat, right? So it's the same type of experience. I have the upload button right here. I have the catch up tab. I have all of my previous chats as well. And it's got all of that type of stuff available to me, basically launching out of Outlook into that. But I can still get back to my calendar. I can still get back to my email. So the rail is still there.
John, you
go
can
ahead.
right click and pin it to the sidebar and then move it where you
Okay.
want.
Yeah, I figured that's probably what I was missing. So if you use like that more than like the people or the groups tab, maybe I want to clean up these ones, and maybe I want to just have my Copilot, my to-do, and my files. You kind of are building like a little like dock over there on the side. Thanks for that, Andy. So it's interesting, like Microsoft, again, like I kind of complained a little bit earlier. It's like, all right, you gave me like 3 little Copilot-y things within this one text box. Now we're starting to see Copilot is being sprinkled throughout throughout Outlook. You've got it now in the middle as this ribbon. You've got it on the right-hand side as a sidebar chat, and you've got it on the left-hand side as a full-blown application. So it's like there's Copilot on Copilot on Copilot in my little panes here.
But that's
go
not
ahead.
all.
Yeah. Yes, there is one more thing that is rolling out right now.
Click on new before you do that. Click on new.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So go to new, and then there's a Copilot button right there in the middle as well.
And
where I can draft.
And
go ahead.
If you close that, it's in the body of the message if you hit the /.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
if you do that, you can draft a Copilot.
In Outlook, there are 5+ ways to invoke Copilot.
They really want you to use Copilot in your email if you haven't noticed.
I'm gonna bring this comment up on the board or on the screen. The major hurdles are within a single product. all the different avenues to anything Copilot. It's here, it's there. If you click on this, if you stand on one foot, if you point north, touch your nose, Copilot will appear. There are
Yeah.
many different places where it's going to show up, and you haven't even left the web browser. If you go down to the desktop app, it's different there as well, and that's in the new and the classic.
Yeah. So Copilot's kind of all over the place. Now, another okay, so yeah, Carolyn's pointing out like, hey, also it's in the classic Outlook for desktop as well. So Copilot is kind of all over the place whenever it comes to Outlook now. Something that is rolling out right now, my friend Tom, our product manager at EY for Copilot, he has it in his Outlook client, but I don't have it yet. So I can just talk about it, but I can't actually show it. This is the ability to schedule with Copilot. And what happens is the scenario you get is you have like an email thread. The thread's going back and forth a whole lot. And eventually you reach a point where you're like, you know what? We just need to have a meeting about this because it's gone on long enough, right? So we've always had this ability up here to say, reply with a meeting, and it will just create a dumb meeting request, right? That's basically a continuation of the thread with everybody in here. And then I have to like use, other things at my disposal. There's a new button that's coming out that's going to be right next to that. And it's going to be basically the same icon, but with like a sparkle on it. And that is schedule with Copilot. What that one does is it takes the people in the chat, in the email thread, aligns them all to like a recommended meeting time, attaches the email thread as an attachment. Then it does two things in the body. It gives you a summary of the chat thread. So it intelligently collapses the entire chat into like a single paragraph of here's what we were talking about and the reason why we needed to have this meeting. Then it also intelligently creates an agenda with a bulleted list item of, hey, if we were going back and forth trying to decide about something, the meeting needs to be to make that decision, right? And Copilot understands that, and it will put that in the agenda. We're going to discuss everybody's concerns. We're going to come to a decision, right? That's the agenda. If it was to talk about options and all the options we've kind of been going through, then the agenda would say, we're going to have like Alex talk about his proposal, have Megan talk about her proposal, come to a decision. So it's going to take those nuances of the thread and it's going to help you create that as a meeting. Now, because I can't show it, I wanted to bring this
pull my
up.
screen up. I got a screenshot of it.
You do have it? Okay.
I don't have it live, but I have a screenshot of it.
Before you show that screenshot, I just wanted to show the feed, oh my gosh, roadmap feature item. Sorry, my blood sugar is starting to come back down to normal after lunch. But essentially it tells you like what you're able to do with like the conversation summary, the attendee list, all of that stuff. What I wanted to show is that this is going to be coming mostly across the board. It's coming to the new Outlook experience for Windows, so it won't be in the classic desktop PC experience, but it's also coming to web, Mac, and mobile. So basically everywhere except for classic Outlook on Windows. And that rolled out starting this month. You want to show your screenshot? There's your screen.
So this is what the command is actually going to look like.
Perfect.
It's starting to show up in the wild. Full credit to the author on LinkedIn that posted this. I sent this to you as a chat earlier today.
Okay.
I just happen to have it like queued up, but this is what it's going to look like when you see the schedule with Copilot button start to light up in your tenant.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that is what we know about with our features in Outlook. Now I'm going to keep driving and get back over to my screen and show. Go ahead. Do you have something else about Outlook?
Yeah. So before you segue away from Outlook, there was one other feature that Microsoft has been touting for a long time, and that relates to meetings, and that's to follow this meeting with Copilot for a meeting that are invited to, but maybe you can't attend because you have a conflict. This has been, it's going on, no shade to Microsoft, it's going on a year now since they've advertised this. But if you have a meeting invite that you receive, they're saying that you would be able to follow um, that event, and then have Copilot be able to go back and track that event, even if you weren't in attendance for it, be able to Copilot against that event, even if you weren't there live.
Yeah. And I've got that on my screen here. I actually have that in my sandbox environment. So a meeting invite, accept, decline, or tentative. But now there's a fourth option, which is to follow this event. If I click on that, then I have responded that I'm going to follow, so that the organizer actually sees John can't make it, but he's going to follow it. That's kind of a prompt like, hey, organizer, you should record and transcribe the meeting so that John can use Copilot to like stay in the know, you know?
Hey, cool thing about that, I just got an email that said you're following that meeting.
Cool. Can you show that?
Yeah.
I want to see what does the organizer see?
Right here.
Awesome. John is following the meeting. What does it say below that?
Learn more about follow. They won't attend, but are interested and want to get info about it. Consider recording this meeting so they can catch up later.
Perfect. I love that. But technically, I want everybody to know, technically, they need to transcribe the meeting, not just record it.
Yeah.
Microsoft has a nasty habit of assuming that everybody is configured out of the box the same way. However, if you have just the default, setup, then everybody's able to record. And when you record a meeting, it also transcribes the meeting for you. Or if you record the meeting without transcription, then Stream will automatically transcribe it. Most organizations, or many organizations, they have deviated away from the default. So in an organization where you don't have that auto transcription, or you're in a situation where people don't want to be recorded, but they're okay with the transcript running. I know there's a few countries that I'm aware of where it's a little bit more acceptable to have a written transcript, but people don't want like their tone of voice recorded, because of like sentiment stuff. Microsoft is saying consider recording the meeting. I'm going to tell you, you need to transcribe the meeting, not just record it. So organizers out there, red flag, transcribe the meeting or it's not going to help the person. So sorry to get on my soapbox about that. It's just, I'm in one of those organizations where it is not all just out of the box default.
The nuances of transcription are so detailed that there's actually a 17-page PDF that Microsoft created about the ins and outs of transcribing a meeting with Copilot.
Yeah. It would be a good deep dive for us, but you can see how we like never stick to 2 hours. It'd be like a 12-hour deep dive. And like, I think I would have to like wear a blood pressure cuff the whole time because I would get so wound up about it.
Well, on that note, like, this is your Copilot anonymous group for Copilot addictions. Like, this is what this meeting is, this live stream that we basically do is like, you're in the right place if you're here. This is, Copilot anonymous.
Yeah, right. So is that it for Outlook? Thanks for bringing up that follow feature. I forgot about that.
I think that that covers the web-based experience. Now, like, I'll be transparent. I'm not covering the desktop-based experience because, one, I'm a Mac user and I'm in the new Outlook, and I've been in the new Outlook for a couple of years. That's the default on the Mac side of the house. For those of you that are on the Windows side, there's Outlook Classic and there's Outlook the new Outlook. And there's significant differences between the two, to the point where in my organization, we basically have the message, when you get provisioned for Copilot, sure, we can update your group policy so you can install the new Outlook client, but chances are there's a feature or a plugin you need with a classic Outlook desktop. We recommend that you keep that so that you can continue to work within your normal flow. And if you want to experience Copilot, use Outlook for the web or OWA. as we often abbreviate it. That way you can kind of experience both sides of the house. But with just what we saw in the web browser and the 5+ Copilot experiences sprinkled in here, there, and everywhere, it gets even more confusing when you get to the desktop client.
Yeah.
So pick and choose your own adventure, but we're purposely not showing the desktop client because actually I'll speak for both of us. We're both Mac guys.
Yeah.
And I could virtualize the Windows experience on it, but that would be a 2-hour deep dive in and of itself.
One tip before I leave Outlook behind is if you do want to have the coolest, latest features in Outlook on the web, but you want it to feel native, what you want to do is go into Edge, Microsoft Edge, and then click this little box right here with the 3 squares and the plus sign. That is to install a progressive web app for Outlook. If I do that, it's going to install basically a web shortcut that is in my native applications folder. And now I've got Outlook on the web in all of its glory as a floating window with notifications and all of that cool stuff, but it doesn't feel like a website anymore. It feels, a little bit more native to my operating system. So that's a pro tip. Install the progressive web app. Now you can have your classic Outlook and you can have your web Outlook both feeling like apps, and you can just kind of open whichever one you feel like using today. Okay. Can we move on to forms? Does that sound good?
Let's go to
forms. Quick one. Okay. So inside of Microsoft Forms, there's one new feature this summer. So we got Copilot in Forms where you could create surveys and you could create like basic forms with questions and stuff. But something I've been excited about is the ability to create quizzes. And that is out now in Microsoft Forms. So if I go to forms.office.com, and instead of a new form, I'm going to create a new quiz right here, the second little button. And a quiz is basically a form with multiple choice questions, but those questions have a correct answer. So you can like basically have a score at the end of your thing. So I'm going to say, give me a 5-question quiz about barista safety for our coffee shop, right? Maybe I want to be training baristas and we're going to talk about like safety in the workplace, and I need a knowledge check about safety. So I'm going to generate that, and I told Copilot to make 5 questions. And what it does is it creates those questions. It's doing 3 of them, 4 of them, and 5 of them. So what we've got here is they're not just multiple choice, but it created like, what's the first step if you spill hot coffee on yourself? The answer is run cold water over the burn, and you can see that it has the check mark next to it. Copilot marked that as the correct answer. Don't apply butter to it. Run cold water over it. It's got another multiple choice, and then also it's got an open-ended. What type of extinguisher should you use for an electrical fire? CO2. The person needs to type CO2 in to make it a correct answer. Same with another one. What should they use? They should use gloves. But this is so cool, because not only does it have the right answer, it tells you why it's the right answer. So if I click answer explanation, it's going to say the correct step is to do it for at least 10 minutes. This helps reduce the temperature of the burner. So like it tells you why it's the right answer. Under like the CO2 fire extinguisher, carbon dioxide is good for electrical fires because it displaces the oxygen and cools it down without damaging the equipment. So like it actually tells you why the answer is the correct answer. So I don't know why I'm so like excited about this because I don't really make quizzes and forms, but I think this is going to be amazing for people in education or people who are in like adoption, right? So like you're in your Copilot adoption team, you've got to create onboarding material. Now you can create your knowledge check by asking Copilot to help you with the questions and the answers and why they're the correct answer. So that is Copilot in Forms. I do have to click the keep it button, and now it's got an actual form. I can go to collect responses, and then I can share that particular form. So if I go here and do like CO2, and I'm going to say like glasses, because I know that's the wrong answer. I'm going to just select a couple of these wrong, and I'm going to submit it. It gave me 80 out of 100 points because I guess each of those was worth, 20 points. and I want to view the results, it is correct, and it tells the user why it was the right answer. So this isn't even just for you, the creator of the thing. It's like, okay, this was incorrect. The answer is gloves. They protect hands from hot surfaces. So the person got it wrong, but they're learning, right? Because Copilot is giving them that explanation. Like, my mind is blowing right now. I'm super pumped about this. So, anything to add, Andy?
No.
Cool. That's a nice, easy one. Nice and clean. Okay, so what is the next thing on the list? I think it's back over to you, right?
Oh man, do I have to?
The next one is Excel. Oh, that's an exciting one to talk about.
Just a heads up. I know there was a an ask for the transcription management Copilot for Microsoft 365. I was trying to find a direct link for that where I downloaded
Okay.
it. I can't remember the site that I got it from. It's one of the Microsoft sites, but I have it. So I'm going to create a shareable link for that, and I'll throw that in the chat window, either here in the in Restream or on LinkedIn, and
Is
make
it
sure that I share that out.
the Microsoft Learn like admin managed transcription?
I
'Cause
can't
I've got
remember exactly which
okay.
site I found it from.
Okay.
I searched for the title. I searched for the snippet there on the beginning. I've even tried searching for the file name,
Yeah,
which is
no
a bunch
worries.
of random
Okay.
numbers.pdf. So,
I pasted that other one in as well. That's just the Microsoft Docs version. So, more resources are never a bad thing.
yeah, yeah.
All right, dude, Excel.
What's new in Copilot for Excel? Full disclosure, I am not an Excel power user. If there is an area of opportunity for me in the Microsoft suite, it deals with all things and everything Excel.
Same.
But with my friend Copilot, I can excel in working with spreadsheets because Copilot is supercharged when it comes to working with Excel. So I'm going to go into an Excel workbook that I have that I use frequently for demos. This is just a default Microsoft template for a warehouse inventory list. And the new features that we have in Excel from Microsoft now,
Mhm.
uh, traditionally, when you've worked with Excel, it has to be in a table format. You have to have table formatted data in order to interact with it. I am not in a table. I am nowhere near a table. I am in blank cells. And notice I can still invoke Copilot off to the side now. The improvement that they made here is that you can click anywhere in the workbook, and then Copilot will look for the nearest table or set of structured data, and then it will try to interpret that data and do the Copilot ask that you have of it. So that's a huge change. Traditionally, I've had to actually click in the table to activate Copilot because it's been grayed out up in the top. Now I can
Mhm.
just click in the workbook anywhere, doesn't matter. It'll look for the nearest table or data that resembles a table like format, and it'll start allowing me to work with Copilot against that. I think that's pretty huge.
Mhm.
The other extension of that is that this is table data, right? This is clearly table formatted in a table format. Well, let's go to a new tab, and we can like paste that in, um, and it shouldn't be formatted as a table, but I can invoke Copilot against that data now over here on this information. So
Mhm.
like I'm clicking in it and I'm not getting a table tab on the top. Versus if I were on the previous tab and I click in there, it says table design. So
Mhm.
that tells me formatted this table. I go back over here, even though some of the formatting is the same, I'm not getting a table tab at the top. So this is just, there's a header section, it's implied, there's data underneath it, and I can actually go and work with Copilot from here. So, are there any outliers in my data? And it's going to look at that, even though it's not formatted as a table, it has the structure of a table with the headers and then the columns and the rows. Copilot can now work with that. So it works with table and non-tabled formatted data. I think that's a huge help for a lot of organizations. Additionally, when you start working with it and you do things like show data insights, Copilot's really good at extracting insights in your data that you might not have been aware of. It'll look for trends. It'll work for um, insights based off of business formulas and business practices that you might not have been aware of. And then based off of that, it'll give you kind of an output with that. But one of the things that I think it does a really good job of is when you're working um, with this, you can ask it to see insights, and based off of those insights, it's going to be able to add in additional columns. And as part of those additional columns, it would be able to add in formulas, and it would be able to help you to troubleshoot maybe formulas around that data. So, like, I might tell it, um, uh, let's just refresh this to kind of restart the session with this workbook and go back into Copilot. I might go in and tell it or ask it, is there a correlation between the reorder time in days and quantity in reorder versus the reorder level? Now, full disclosure, I've done Copilot against this before, and Copilot actually showed me a formula that said, based off of the quantity that you have in stock and the reorder level that you're looking at, and the time that you have for a reorder with the total number of items that would be in that reorder, you need to look at reordering this many days ahead of time. And so it knows there's a correlation with that. So if I ask it something kind of along the same lines, it'll often suggest, hey, maybe you create a new column with data that visualizes that correlation. Here it's saying, well, maybe we'll create a chart or a graphic around that. But the other thing is that if you wanted to add a column and help you to create a formula against that, Copilot can actually do that. So we'll say, like, can you add a column to calculate a reorder and I'm just saying, factoring in the quantity in stock versus reorder time in days and reorder level. And make sure we spell calculate correctly. And in this case, because I've used natural language to kind of talk to it, it should generate a formula selection for me. And then in some cases, it's going to, and there it is, there's the formula editor. So it's telling me you're going to do an and formula, you're going to reference the quality or the quantity in stock greater than, and you're going to reference the reorder level as well as the time in days, and you're going to base that off of a value greater than 0. And now it's explained that column to me. But if I want more details, I can actually go into show explanation, and then it gives it to me in natural language. It explains exactly what all that IntelliSense expression language actually means in common language. And it gives me a sample that shows what it's actually going to look like. It even gives me an actionable item to insert this as a column. And notice what happens when I hover over that button. It's adding that into the workbook as a row M. And telling me, hey, there's a reorder that's actually needed based off of the formula that we're entering in here. And if I click on one of those values, it's actually showing me the formula. So in this case, through the conversation, I learned that I should be comparing the quantity in stock with the amount of time it takes to reorder based off of the number of items in a reorder level. Now I have a column that clearly identifies that, and it explains the expression that it uses around that. So as I get a complex expression, I can say, explain how this works, and then get a detailed explanation around that, even if I don't fully understand the IntelliSense that they're using, or the expression language that they're using in Excel.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a new feature. Again, I'm not an Excel guru. I don't know, all the ins and outs of the syntax, but I know enough to be dangerous. And if I can't get something here, I have no problem pulling Copilot up in the sidebar and having a sidebar conversation with it to tweak that. Of course, it's going to make a liar out of me, to tweak that formula a little bit more and to get more value out of it. And between the two, you can really get some powerful results out of it. But the formula assistance, because it's based off of definitive rules and guidelines, is much more powerful than it was when this was released a year ago. So I've seen big improvements with that amongst teammates that I work with, being able to explain the formula in clear, concise language, being able to insert it into the table, and being able to work with non-table based data. Those are all huge improvements for Excel. And we're really only scratching the surface, but admittedly, neither one of us are Excel gurus. We know enough to be dangerous.
Exactly. It's not going to make me an Excel master. It's not magic, but it might help me look like I know what I'm doing when I don't actually know what I'm doing. I love it. I think that's really cool. So hopefully it'll make me less afraid to use Excel a little bit.
Hey, maybe if somebody out there is viewing the video and you're an Excel power user and you're a Copilot user and you want to talk about that, reach out to one of us. We'll have you on the show. We'd love to do a deeper dive
that'd be
into Excel
awesome.
capabilities. I'm always looking to learn more. And this is one area I know I definitely need to learn more on. So if you're a Copilot Excel user, would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let us know in the comments.
Absolutely.
Let us know on LinkedIn. Maybe we'll have you on the show here in the future. That'd be an awesome session.
Yeah. You want to move on to Loop real quick? Loop, there it is. Okay,
Where's
so yeah, I don't know if Daryl's watching today. He'll probably hear and just like gravitate towards our live stream. But we wanted to cover Microsoft Loop as well. So I'm going to go over to my screen here, and there are two main things I wanted to talk about with regard to Copilot in Loop that are new as of this summer. The first one is the assistance that Copilot can bring to creating pages in a workspace. So if I'm on the Loop homepage right here, and if I go into like this getting started Loop workspace, I'm just going to open that up, and I want to create a new page about barista safety, right? Let's kind of keep with that thread that I used with the quizzes. So this is the new interface for Microsoft Loop, and you go to create a page at the bottom. You click like this, create new page. And now you've got this new set up your page with Copilot right here. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to either reuse a page. So if you do that, you're basically mentioning a previous page, and then you're telling it to tweak that page based off of another topic. Or because I don't have any good looking pages yet in here, I'm going to use a Loop template, and then I'm going to have Copilot help me draft all the content for that page. So if I click that, I can go through here and I can see like a project brief, a team decision, stuff like that. So bad idea brainstorms, action heroes. Let's go through and see if there's anything about like learning or something like that. Competitive analysis. Let's do an elevator pitch. So it's got like, some of the things that you can kind of do. It's got like a table, some unique selling points. So I'm going to take this format with all these beautiful little emojis and stuff. I'm going to click edit with Copilot, and it's going to say, set up a page that looks like elevator pitch, and draft content about barista safety in a coffee shop, right? So give me a new page that looks like that other one, kind of has a similar structure, but make it about something completely else, completely different. And it's working on it right here. And I don't want to do a software update right now. Thank you, Mac OS. But there we go. So barista safety in a coffee shop, it's got that same header on it, but it's got a new icon. It's also got like, in a bustling coffee shop, they face several, risks daily, and you want to present the solution. So like, what are some things you want to talk about? Handling hot liquids, risks of falls, long shift and repetitive tasks, like the dangers of that. What sets our program safety apart? Our safety program is the holistic approach, things like that. So it's kind of it's an elevator pitch if you were like a company who was like gonna consult on a barista safety program, right? So I clicked keep that, and now I've got that as an actual page. I can rearrange it, and I can go over here. This is barista safety. Maybe I want to take that off because in a coffee shop is kind of a given. And it's just a regular page. I can just start going from there, but I've got a structure that I can build from. Maybe I want to add a video about barista safety, and maybe this turns into a handbook about barista safety. So that is drafting a page with Microsoft Loop and Copilot. The second thing I wanted to do is I wanted to show off something called mermaid diagrams. And this is a feature in code blocks. So if you've ever gone before and you've done like a code block before, you know that you can like put in code inside of a workspace. Well, Microsoft rolled out this new thing called Mermaid. This is a type of scripting language that basically will create visual diagrams for you based off of code. I don't know Mermaid, right? This is a new thing. I've never used it before. But the cool superpower that I get with Copilot is I can use Copilot to help me make a mermaid diagram now. So if I go in here and I say use Copilot, so slash, just a second, slash draft page content, I open up Copilot and I say, make a mermaid Gantt chart, right? Gantt chart. I want a visual diagram of our coffee shop openings, right? And I'm going to say like Denver is in October 24. Kansas City is in March 2025. New York is in, let's go back in time and go September 2024. And maybe the launch for it is over like some time. So October through November, we're going to go through May and have like a bunch of events here. And I'm going to do like through December. So I'm going to give it like a time frame. Here's the cities they're opening in these times. These are our launch events. I want you to give me a Gantt chart. I don't know how to use Mermaid. So I'm going to click go. And what it's going to do is it's going to know that it needs to add a code block for Mermaid. It's going to write the Mermaid text script for me. And then it's going to give me that picture. There we go. So it gave me a Gantt about coffee shop openings. And it's got the 3 cities. And it's got like when they're happening. So 2 months, 3 months, and 4 months. And you can see it's got the correct time. So back here in September through the end of the year, December or Denver starts in October. They end earlier. And then Kansas City is like out into next year. So I've just made a Gantt chart inside of Loop using a language that I don't know how to use, all using Copilot. So that is what I wanted to show off in Microsoft Loop with Copilot. Anything to add, Andy?
You covered it.
Or did I blow your mind? I showed this to one of the members on my team, and he's like, I don't know what Mermaid is, man. It sounds technical. And then one of my other colleagues, Tom, he was like, I just asked Copilot to do it, and it did this. And both of us were like, oh my God, this is crazy. So That's pretty cool though. I think it's pretty fun. Uh, the last thing to round out all of this, we're over time, I know, but the last thing that we wanted to talk about with what's new in Copilot for M365 is a new feature in Viva Engage for network admins or community adoption people. Now, in our sandbox environment as MVPs, we unfortunately don't have admin rights. So we're not able to deploy this feature, but we wanted to highlight it for those of you who are driving adoption campaigns. And this is a Copilot adoption community powered by and inside of Viva Engage. And what you can do is, as a network admin, you can turn on the feature and you can choose to either put it in a brand new community for your Copilot adoption, or you can select an existing community. So like our environment, I've done this for a year now, so I've already got an established community, but there's some things that you can benefit from with this feature. Essentially, it gives you some specific Copilot adoption conversation starters. It will look across your network and highlight potential members that you want to add to your community, and help out everybody with answering questions, starting their post, drafting their post with Copilot. So some of these are Viva Engage premium features. Microsoft is giving you these premium features for free just for that single community to help you drive your Copilot adoption. So I just wanted to kind of scroll through the blog post. I will put that in the chat here for you guys. So let me do that real quick, and we'll round this session out. So in here, it's you may start with a new community or you may add it to an existing community, but it gives you an onboarding checklist of, hey, you want to customize it by like adding a picture. You want to like tag who your admins are. You want to set up some, recommended members, cool things like that. So it's out of the box configuration. And then it gives you suggested content for your Copilot community to say like, hey, you should highlight these features of Copilot. Hey, your users have had Copilot for a while. Here's a conversation to kind of like kickstart them, to take their Copilot to the next level, right? It gives you some sample ways to kind of start, some writing about Copilot to kind of keep the community rolling and keep it growing. There's a top questions module. So what this will do is give you a sidebar as what would be typically a premium feature. You'll get it for free in your Copilot adoption community that basically highlights the top questions from the community with their marked best answer. So your newcomers to Copilot can get up to speed, and basically it's kind of like a live FAQ without having to go make an FAQ because it's powered by the community. These are suggested members, so it will help you understand some members who have Copilot licenses out there that aren't in your community, so you can go grab them and like bring them into the fold so they're not left out there to fend for themselves. Then it's got this is that generated content, so you can see like some questions and some best answers. You can pre-stage some of this stuff so that you can fill your community out with some pro answers for people before they ask those questions. You can go ahead and tee it up and deploy that in your community. So I wanted to show this off and encourage you guys to go in the chat and grab that link so that you can see that if you are a Viva Engage admin, or you're an organization who has Viva Engage and you're starting with Copilot, this is a free feature that Microsoft is giving us that I wanted to kind of point out, because it could kind of be a bit of like a force multiplier for you as like a limited adoption team. So anything to add there, Andy, or you want to land this plane?
I just got a couple of shout outs that
Cool.
I want to bring up. Can you switch over to my screen?
Yes, sir.
So,
thank you.
We love you being here. We love doing this. This is clearly a lot of fun for us. It's a huge learning opportunity. We like to learn out loud, and that's exactly what this is. And engagement from the community is key. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's 365 Deep Dive. Super easy to find. You see the logo there. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's going to let you know when we're getting ready to go live. We got our next episode coming up. But also, we are doing recaps. We are taking this 2 hour, sometimes 2 hour plus deep dive, and we're turning it into shorts. Some of those shorts are going to be here at 365 Deep Dive. Some of those will be on John's channel, and some of those are going to be on my channel, just to give you a couple of different ways to digest all the stuff that we're going over. We try to arrange our content into sections so that we can easily chop it up and make it into shorts, so you can get back to that one cool piece that you're really interested in. But you'll find that at the YouTube channel, 365 Deep Dive. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, I know there was we had the request for the transcription management in Copilot for Microsoft 365. I actually remembered where I got that. It was from a Microsoft teammate, Bence Orban, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, but from his LinkedIn post, he actually has the transcription management in Copilot document. You can actually download it as part of a white paper. That's where I got it a couple of months ago. I did put that in the chat window for those of you that are joining in with us live. I actually sent that through my LinkedIn profile so that it'll show up for those of you that joined it from LinkedIn. I wanted to make sure that you got that. But also, if you don't know, and give me 1 second to pull up the correct thing on the screen so I'm not blasting my personal profile on social media. But the other thing is, if you didn't know, we have a page on LinkedIn. It's just another place you can stay informed and engage with us. This one's a little more interactive versus us just sending out posts about what's coming on YouTube. You can actually go here to 365 Deep Dive and you can engage with us. It's super easy to find on LinkedIn, but join, follow. We post whenever we release our shorts and upcoming sessions, and that's one of the places that you'll be able to keep up with us. And once we get enough followers there, we'll be able to live stream from there. And that'll be just a central entry point for you to be able to engage with us. We just got to build up the followers over there in order to get it to the point where we can live stream there using the tool that we actually use.
Yeah, we only need 100 followers on there, and then we can actually start streaming to that community. I wanted to go to this scene real quick, Andy, to point out to people. I wish my pen. Here's a different color pen. Scan that QR code, and that will take you to our YouTube channel where you can subscribe to this, and you'll get these live streams. But as Andy said, every week you'll get a recap, which is just a clip of a previous live stream that's like a bite-sized nugget of this 2-hour session. So, you can watch something for 5 or 10 minutes instead of 2 hours. Yeah. So, but yeah, thanks for pointing those out, Andy. Hopefully you guys, had a good time following along with us. We covered a lot of ground and we did it fairly quickly. But if you got questions, put them in the comments below if you're watching this later on, and we'll get those answered for you all. And we'll see you next month. If you've got ideas for what you want to talk about next month, send those our way as well. You could post them to LinkedIn for us. You can share, send us a message on, a YouTube comment, things like that too. We're happy to do what the community wants. So this is a good time.
And with that, thank you all for joining in with us here today. And we will see you in the next 365 Deep Dive. See you next time, everybody.
Bye, guys.